Hey guys, how's it going? Sorry I'm late. I just had an incredibly busy day tomorrow, or yesterday. On Tuesday is a big deadline for submitting papers to a conference I'm hoping to go to. And I had two abstracts to do, and I had to do a bunch of data analysis and a bunch of writing for the abstracts themselves, and had to submit them and create the figures too, which is more labor intensive than you might think. But anyway, I have now found some time on this Saturday, just before I'm going to head over to a friend's house to do laundry, to talk about Othello, finally, for ShakeTube. So, Othello is a play I have a bit of a strange relationship with, actually, because in my senior year of high school, I had to, or I didn't have to, I chose to. We got to choose our topics for this, but I wrote a paper on Othello. It was about racism in Othello, and so I had to have a very intimate relationship with this play. But I didn't do very well on the paper. I can't remember what my main thesis was. I may not have had one, which might be why I didn't do very well. But I think that bitterness over my substandard grade kind of got projected a little bit onto this play because it is sort of, I would say, out of all of Shakespeare's major tragedies, it is my least favorite. Not that I dislike it at all. I do really like it, but if I were to pick off a shelf which Shakespeare tragedy I wanted to reread, this would be one of the last ones that would come to mind. But anyway, as probably everyone knows, this play is essentially the story of Othello, who is a black man serving in the army of Venice as a general, fighting the Ottoman Turks. And just at the beginning of this play, Othello, well, they don't really win a victory because the Ottoman fleet is just kind of destroyed by a storm. But anyway, they're all celebrating because they've just defeated the Ottomans, and Othello is married to Desdemona, who is a white Venetian woman, and Iago is another white Venetian man who has a grudge against Othello, ostensibly because Othello promoted another man instead of him. Although Iago also implies that Othello may have slept with his wife, or at least Iago thinks Othello slept with his wife. There's not really any proof, but so Iago, because of being passed over for promotion, and ostensibly because Othello had sex with his wife, decides to get revenge on Othello, and he does it in the way that any normal person would, by turning Othello on his wife. So he convinces Othello that his wife Desdemona is being unfaithful to him with Cassio, who is a young, good-looking, flirtatious guy who also happens to be the man that Othello promoted instead of Iago. This play is basically a series of Iago manipulating the people around him brilliantly. Like, Iago is a brilliant psychologist. He knows how people works, and this really hit me in the very first scene, or not very first scene, the first scene where he implies to Othello that Desdemona might be unfaithful to him. Because if you look at that scene, at least if I'm remembering correctly, Iago doesn't say explicitly that Desdemona might be cheating on Othello at any point, until after Othello has come up with that idea himself. He lets Othello say that and come up with that idea. And so because Othello came up with the idea on his own, he is more likely to believe it. And that is brilliant. It's horrible. Like, Iago is, as many other ShakeTubers have been saying, a psychopath. But he's also brilliant. Although, I will add the caveat that I think it's possible that Othello was kind of an easy target for Iago, because I don't think Othello is very intelligent. You just think all of a sudden this woman is cheating. This woman who never at any point in the play shows any intimations that she is deceptive or unfaithful to Othello, is all of a sudden cheating on him in their first weeks of marriage. Not even their first months of marriage, their first weeks of marriage. And he also doesn't do the obvious thing that might have solved all this, which is just to talk to his wife. Just like, if Iago is telling you that your wife is cheating on you, maybe you should just ask your wife, trust her, because throughout this play we see her honesty and her faithfulness to Othello. So you would think that he would know that. You'd think he would know this woman that he supposedly wants to spend his life with, and might think that it would be logical to just go and talk to her. So yeah, Othello, I don't like him very much. I mean, I don't like Iago either, but Iago for me he was the one I was paying attention to the whole time. My first thought at the end of this play was that this play shouldn't really be called Othello, it should be called Iago, because it's really about Iago. And in the production I watched, which was the Laurence Olivier adaptation, it was really Frank Finley's performance as Iago that struck me. Although Laurence Olivier's performance as Othello I did find very moving, at least in the last part of the play, and also Maggie Smith as Desdemona was spectacular. It was also just interesting to see Maggie Smith young. I've never seen that before. Everything I've seen her in she's been old, like Downton Abbey and Harry Potter. But yeah, so, but that all being said, I do find the ending of this play very, like, it was just as shocking on the third read as it was on the first read, for me, and, for that, it does have a lot of power, but again, if I were to pick, between Shakespeare's tragedies, this would be one of the last ones I'd be dying to read. So, yeah, that's basically what I have to say. It's nothing very original. I think I've said basically the same thing everyone else has been saying on ShakeTube. But yeah, anyway, next week, we're reading a play that is new to me, and that is one of my new favorites after having read it. We're talking about King Lear. So I am excited for that. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Bye!